What's going on there, folks? Good evening. It is the Earth Master here on this Wednesday, February 23rd, 6:18 p.m. By the way, it is 2022. The latest quake on the globe shows some earthquake activity ramping up out there along the west coast in California, with a 2.5 earthquake striking within the last hour or so. Let's go ahead and check out the latest movement here on the map, showing that earthquake activity. 2.5 out there around the geysers. We've seen quite a bit of movement kick up here in the geyser region, and also a little bit of activity along the northern California region and the eastern part of Sierra Nevada. Pretty much, if you look at the entire map here, we're seeing a little bit of a regional increase in pressure and earthquake activity generally all around the west coast right now. Let's go ahead and check out the movement up here in the Cascadia subduction zone, where we've seen some movement strike earlier today. 2.6 and a 2.0. The thing about these, they're almost right smack dab in the locked area of the Cascadia subduction zone. The subduction zone itself begins right out here, the megathrust area, Cascadia megathrust, right? One that I hope everyone up there knows about. Unfortunately, they don't. I know that for a fact. So a couple earthquakes striking up there today in the Northern California region, just off the coast. Also some movement northern end of the Sacramento Valley around the Shasta Lake area, a 1.9. That one's pretty deep as well. Regional pressure pretty high along the west coast. All up and down the west coast, inland as well, telling the story of the pressure for sure. Even Klamath Falls, Oregon, had a 2.3 at 13.1 kilometers earlier today. Looks like one person reported feeling it. Klamath Falls does get some seismic activity up there. Looking at the regional overview of Klamath Falls, Oregon, shows at least some 4 to 5 magnitude earthquakes here within the recent history since about 1900 or so. And I could have swore they had a little bit bigger one than that too, like something above a 5.0. I just can't remember exactly the date. But then again, those kind of look like those are 5.0s there around the Klamath Falls area since about 1900 or so. So they do get some quakes up there. There is fault systems that run up and down the region, right around the upper Klamath Lake area, and pretty much all over the place. The earthquake that struck up here doesn't look like it's on any specific fault system. I want to check the satellite view, see what we got out here. Well, it's 13 miles down there, so I can't really judge a book by its cover in this case for sure. Moving up north, some activity out here northwest of the Crater Lake area. That's all we need, is some Crater Lake activity. That would not be good. Prospect, Oregon, a 2.5 2-kilometer depth for that earthquake, and up through the rest of the Cascades. Movement once again around Mount St. Helens. Some activity right smack dab at the summit, and also to the north and to the southwest there. A couple small microquakes over the last 24 hours. Also activity up here in the Neelton, is that right? Neelton, Washington, 1.5, a subduction zone quake around the Cascadia at 31.7 kilometers. By the way, if you hear a helicopter in the background, I'm sure you guys can. We got a lot of orchards out here in the Sacramento Valley here in Northern California, and they have blossomed already, and the helicopter is actually trying to prevent the orchards from getting damaged tonight. We're underneath a hard freeze watch, 24 degrees expected here. Coldest temperature by far all winter here in this area of Northern California. Of course, up in the mountains it get well below zero, but here in the Sacramento Valley, 24 degrees is kind of we could break a record tonight with that cold temperature, possibly. Either way, the orchards are under the gun tonight, so they're trying to salvage that from happening, any damage. So yeah, subduction zone quake up here in the Neelton, Washington area along the Cascadia, and some activity around the Yellowstone area as well. Had an earthquake just come in a couple hours ago here near the Jackson, Wyoming region, 2.7 at 4.7 kilometers. Now that earthquake did show up significantly on the Yellowstone thumbnails. This is an overview of Yellowstone National Park from the top, looking down, of course, right? You got the Lake Yellowstone over here in the blue, Yellowstone caldera Wyoming state line right here. Yellowstone caldera is in this black kind of outlined circle there. There is the 2.6, 2.7 that struck down there in the Jackson area of Wyoming, and that showed up pretty nicely there on all the seismograph stations. There is a reading though. I'm kind of wondering about what's going on here with this one, because it showed up on many stations here, not once but twice, in the area around the Maple Creek and Purple Mountain area. Now this is legit activity as well, because we're also seeing it spread out a little bit on other somewhat local stations, but at a distance here. And the area that I'm showing you about, or telling you about, is going to be this region right here. There's one up here right before about 1930, and then there's a lighter blue here, the second line down. And I can't figure out what is going on here, what this is. It doesn't look like earthquake activity. There's nothing aside from that 2.7 showing up earlier this evening, but no earthquake activity. And that's not how earthquake activity looks like. This is kind of a drawn out sequence of movement. Something that you would see, I don't want to dare say the harmonic tremor type movement, but this kind of looks like something you would see possibly associated with volcanic activity there at Yellowstone. And it is showing up definitely on quite a few stations here through the Purple Mountain region. This is not interference, because we see it also showing up here on the Moose Creek area, not as strongly. You see that reading right there, and also right here. So this tells me that it is a legit reading here on the seismographs, not something of interference, but something of well, from Yellowstone. Yellowstone doing something, but I'm not for sure what it is. Maybe your stomach's kind of growling a little bit. I don't know. All I know is that there's definitely a pretty good reading of some odd activity there at Yellowstone National Park, and mostly situated here around the Maple Creek area. So earthquake activity, we all know what the earthquake activity looks like. It's well defined from this 2.7 that came in. So that's exactly what it's going to look like, even though it's at a distance, right? Now if this was more, if this 2.7 struck directly on top of this station, it would be more of a well-defined spike. But so maybe like kind of closer down here to the south around the Mount Sheridan area, a little bit more defined. See that reading right here? It shows you guys a little bit more localized earthquake activity with that 2.7. So that's what earthquake activity looks like when it's drawn out like that in two separate occasions. I'm starting to wonder what is going on. So we're going to keep an eye on that pretty closely. I did add a Yellowstone station onto the live earthquake 3D stream. A little bit of swarming activity over here around the Lake Yellowstone region. There's that 2.7 once again there. And definitely some, I don't know if these are ice quakes. It definitely looks like some earthquake activity as well. Man, that's so weird. That helicopter is just not used to hearing a helicopter buzz around the house at night. But definitely some earthquake activity and some possibly ice quakes, it looks like, maybe over around the borehole area. Either that or a whole bunch of microquakes. That could be hundreds of microquakes if that is the case. But a lot of times we do see the ice quakes pop up here in Yellowstone, and they do kind of give off that signature. But this signature, that's definitely something to, I think I'm going to write someone up there, see if they can't help me out with that, because it's definitely not showing up on any of the, this earthquake isn't from there. That's way, was it? You can check the timestamps here too, 0251 UTC time. And this struck at, looks like right around the 1930 to the 20. But anyway, those are definitely not the earthquake activity that's shown up here on this map. So I will find out what's going on there for sure. Whenever we see that signature, it's just kind of an odd deal. Gotta watch that. The folks say that at least some of the folks think that the magma chamber there is pretty much solid, right? That it's not really ready to blow, but I don't know. Here's the thing, if this thing was ready to blow, we would definitely see large earthquake activity, but it's some weird signature. That's all I'm going to say. All right, moving on. Salt Lake City, Utah. A couple small microquakes out there near Portage. Portage, it looks like, Utah. Can't say I've heard of that area. Cedar, Utah, I have down here. A little earthquake activity near Sunnyside, Utah. Some very shallow surface quakes here with that negative feature on the map here. And this area has seen a pretty good swarm of movement, not only in the last 30 days, but over the last 2 months or so. Probably have had upwards of 500-600 earthquakes within this area of the Cedar, Utah region. And there's not a whole lot out there, but right up against the edge of these mountains here. Go ahead and move on from here. What else we got? Yeah, let's check out the eastern part of the Sierra Nevada. Kind of skipped over them. Movement is picking up a little bit throughout the Nevada side, down through the Antelope Valley area. These guys showing a little ramping up of earthquake activity here. 2.4, the largest in that sequence there near Walker. Long Valley supervolcano remains quiet today, and Ridgecrest area getting in on some activity ramping up. Southern California here, some activity along the San Jacinto Fault Zone and just off the San Andreas Fault area as well up here north. Looks like a couple small microquakes near Vincent. What do we got? Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, beautiful area, countryside out there. Love that region, but only a couple small earthquakes out there today. The eastern part of the country looks quiet. Puerto Rico is showing some movement out here once again, up and down the Puerto Rico Trench area, and just to the southwest here of Puerto Rico. I did have an earthquake out here south of the Panama region, 4.7 earthquake a little bit ago, striking well off the coast into the this fracture zone right here. Also, of course, Colombia earlier today had a 5.5 at 57.1 kilometers. And most recent quake up here was a 4.2 in the Guatemala area. Seen that one come in as well. So this whole area kind of seems to be under quite a bit of strain at the moment. Down south into the Peru-Chile Trench, this activity older movement. Looks like we had one more earthquake here in the Chile area, a little bit recent quake, but these other two quakes pretty old in the earthquake department. Hawaii, what's going on out here at the southeast region? Pretty, wow, look at that, 11 earthquakes. Man, that's just not a lot. That's pretty shallow. I mean, pretty calm conditions out here. One earthquake, 2.0 within the last hour. No major changes there at any of the volcanoes. Tonga, Fiji, Vanuatu, all showing activity, but this is from earlier this morning, way earlier. Most of this activity kicking up here in the earlier hours here, our time here along the west coast. One recent 5.1 earlier this afternoon in the Japan region, right at the western part of the, or the eastern part of the East China Sea, western part of the Philippine plate here, this trench, where we've seen quite a bit of movement a couple days or so in that area. Kuril-Kamchatka Trench up north, pretty quiet once again here, folks. Just wants to sit and wait. Kind of scary. Aleutian Trench, some movement out there around the Davidoff volcano, it looks like, and some other regions here to the east. Just a couple of small microquakes, it looks like, and up and down the Alaska region, just kind of minimal, 35 earthquakes, and that's not a lot. I mean, normally we see quite a bit of movement up here, but all of this in the microquake department. Let's see what else we got here. Let's check out the Tremor map here real quick. Okay, what do we got? 59 epicenters of tremor situated here at the Vancouver Island ranges, northern end of the Cascadia subduction zone, of course. So not a big number, definitely not a significant uptick or anything like that. Just a little bit of tremor going on there. And some pushage, I guess is the word of the night there, along the Cascadia subduction zone, creating that tremor down dip downstream there of the locked area. Earthquakes Canada, we'll check these guys out here real quick. Yeah, there's some movement way up north around the Alaska region as well, up just outside of the Yukon. Some earthquake activity within the last hour, it looks like 1.1, pretty small movement, but also some earthquake activity over the last day in the Alaska region, a couple twos up there. Northern end of the Cascadia. Now this is going to show you the plate boundary here, and of course you remember the Vancouver Island range has seen a little bit of that tremor activity here, so I firmly believe when we're seeing all that tremor, it not only further puts strain on the locked area, but we'd see these pop-up quakes adding to the that definite theory of the strain feature when we see these tremors. A couple small earthquakes over the last day showing up here. A couple of small ones, 1.4 and a 1.6, just to the west where we would expect to see the buildup of strain following the tremor activity today. What else we got here? Let's check out the National Data Buoy Center, and I don't see anything spectacular going on, at least not yet. Current events out there in the world are getting pretty interesting, let me tell you. It's just wow. That's all I'm going to say, just wow. Let's see, nothing going on there in the buoy areas. Let's check out the solar weather, which I believe is kind of minimal at the moment as well. Green across the board, only a very measly 15% chance of a sea flare. And green across the board here for the 3-day forecast. Solar looks like a little coronal hole opening up here Earth side directly at us in the coming days or so. There's some sunspots up here, but nothing significant popping off at the moment. Just a couple eyeballs watching us there on the disk of the sun, seeing maybe the sun's checking to see what we're gonna do here on Earth. All right, folks. What else we got here? I think that's about it. I'm gonna go out and I don't know. Call me crazy, but I kind of like making icicles on the grass and on the trees. So I'm going to go out and put a little sprinkler on, just very minimal mist. That way I can get some ice crystal build up tonight from the 25-degree temperature that we're supposed to have here. And I think it'd be cool. I don't know. I'm a kid at heart, so I kind of like that kind of stuff. I'm just a weather geek in general when it comes to all sorts of stuff. So, all right, guys, have a good night. Stay safe out there. And yeah, just be ready. There's a whole lot about ready to happen. I have a strange feeling. Peace out, folks. Have a good night.